Underneath the shimmering canopy of a grand outdoor gala, amidst golden lights, a tall, imposing white man in a sharp black suit raised a hand, not in surrender, but in calm defiance. Across from him, a formidable black matriarch, her silver hair coiled elegantly, unleashed fury. "You're nothing but a fraud in a borrowed suit," she spat. Guests gasped. Her daughter, Torn, watched in stunned silence. But this man wasn't who they thought. The older twin, a brilliant investigative journalist, was disguised as his younger brother, David. The real groom lay in a hospital bed, poisoned by the very family that had smiled through clenched teeth. They had underestimated the wrong brother. He wasn't here for redemption. He was here to dismantle everything. Would this lavish gala end in hushed whispers, or expose a scandal that rocked their world? Tap play and stay to the last breath. You won't believe what unfolds next. And tell us, where are you watching from? The opulent Dubois estate in upstate New York shimmered under the twilight sky, its lawns a testament to old money. Crystal chandeliers cast prismatic light across tables draped in emerald silk. The air hummed with polite laughter. David Miller, 30 and radiating quiet charm, stood at the edge of the gala, his white tuxedo a stark contrast to the darkness gathering. It felt less like celebration and more like a trap. He adjusted his cuff, his fingers trembling. Nothing could dull the sting of being an outsider. His fiancée, Camille Dubois, stood beside him, her deep blue gown mirroring the unsettling flicker in her eyes. "This place is a circus," she muttered, leaning close. "Just smile and nod, David. We'll be out soon." He offered a faint smile, a nod of hope and dread tightening in his chest. Camille's love was his anchor, but her family's world was a labyrinth of unwritten rules he could never master. Days after the gala, back in their Manhattan penthouse, David sat surrounded by folders for the Dubois Foundation. Sunlight streamed through the windows as he meticulously organized documents, channeling his unease into the task. He hoped to prove his worth to a family that saw him as an interloper. His fingers paused on a slim folder labeled Offshore Allocations. Inside, a spreadsheet detailed wire transfers from the Dubois Trust to obscure Caribbean islands. Millions funneled to cryptic entities like Emerald Isle Holdings. The sums dwarfed public grants, and the lack of corresponding project codes sent a chill down his spine. His pulse quickened. Transfers spiked after major donations, siphoning funds before they reached charities. Error, oversight, or something darker. He cross-referenced names. A familiar name surfaced, Mr. Julian Thorne, Madame Dubois' longtime financial advisor, involved in a past, hushed scandal. David confronted Madame Dubois. "Just doing my part," he said, meeting her gaze. Her eyes narrowed. "Curiosity is a dangerous trait, my dear," she said, setting her teacup down with a sharp clink. "Some doors in this family are locked for a reason. Stick to being Camille's charming husband. It suits you." The words were a velvet dagger. He forced a smile. "I'll keep that in mind." But as he left, David felt a spark ignite. The Dubois' secrets were a labyrinth, and he'd stumbled into its heart. He wouldn't face it alone, not with the memory of his brother, Michael, a brilliant investigative journalist. In London, Michael Ellis, a black investigative journalist, sat at his sleek desk. His phone buzzed with an unknown New York number. He answered. "Michael Ellis." Lena Torres' voice sliced through the transatlantic static. "It's about your brother David. He's in a coma. Someone poisoned him." Michael's breath caught. David Miller, his identical twin, a name he hadn't spoken in years. Lena's words coma, poison, Dubois, crashed through a wound sealed by time. "Tell me everything," he demanded. Lena recounted the gala, David's collapse after a tampered drink, the waiter's sleight of hand, the cryptic Caribbean transfers David had uncovered, and the Dubois family's icy grip on the narrative. "They're hiding something," Lena said, and David paid the price. She sent a digital dossier. Michael closed his eyes. "A flashback, boys. 10 years old, in a city park. We'll always find each other," young David had whispered. Their parents' divorce had torn them apart, David staying with their mother in New York, Michael taken by their father to London. The promise had faded, but Michael's love for his twin, fierce and unspoken, had not. Now, David lay in a hospital bed. Michael's guilt hardened into resolve. He would burn the Dubois' secrets to ash. The bank records hinted at laundered millions, a scandal the Dubois would kill to protect. The photo of the server, his hand swapping David's drink, was the spark. "I'm going to New York," Michael told Lena. "I'll become David. They won't see me coming." Lena agreed, promising to send videos of David's mannerisms. Michael's plan was audacious. Impersonate his twin, infiltrate the Dubois estate, and unearth the truth from within. The Dubois estate loomed like a cathedral of secrets under the noon sun. Michael Ellis, cloaked in his twin's identity, stepped through its iron gates, his heart a drumbeat of purpose. Dressed in David Miller's cream shirt, Michael moved with his brother's grace, but his eyes, sharp as a hawk, betrayed the fire within. He had spent the morning studying David's wardrobe, his notes, his laugh from Lena's videos. He was David in form, but a warrior in spirit. Madame Dubois awaited in the drawing room. "David, darling," she said, her voice a silken thread. "You're looking recovered." Her eyes, cold as winter, lingered on Michael. He tilted his head, mirroring David's gentle smile. "I'm feeling stronger, Madame Dubois," he said. "Loss has a way of putting things in perspective." Madame Dubois' lips twitched. "You seem different, David," she said. "More assertive, perhaps?" Michael's pulse quickened, but he leaned into the role. "Maybe I'm just tired of apologizing for existing," he said, his eyes locking with hers. Her smile tightened, but she said nothing. Her silence a coiled spring. Julian Thorne entered, his briefcase clutched like a shield. "Mr. Miller," he said, addressing Michael with forced deference, "I need your signature on a foundation document, a minor trust amendment." He slid a paper across the table, his fingers trembling. Michael scanned it. The amendment was a decoy, a deliberate error to trip an unsuspecting heir. Michael's lips curved into a predator's smile. "This clause contradicts the '92 trust agreement, Julian," he said. "Section 4, paragraph C. Beneficiaries can't be altered without board consent. Shall I call the trustees to confirm?" Julian's face blanched. Madame Dubois' teacup clinked. "That won't be necessary," Julian stammered, snatching the paper back. Michael leaned back. "Careless mistakes can be costly," he said. Julian fled. Michael felt the air thicken. Madame Dubois' suspicion was palpable. "It's strange," Michael said, "how people assume I'm too naive to understand numbers just because I don't fit their mold." Madame Dubois' eyes narrowed. "You're full of surprises, David," she hissed. "But surprises can be unwise in this family." That evening, Michael met Lena. She slid a USB drive across the table. "Got it," Lena whispered. "Gala footage." The server spiked David's drink, and Julian Thorne's voice gave the order. Michael's heart surged. The evidence was a grenade. He plugged the drive into his laptop. "This changes everything," Michael said. Lena nodded. "You're walking a tightrope, Michael. Madame Dubois is watching." The Dubois Legacy Gala transformed a Manhattan skyscraper's ballroom. Michael Ellis, masquerading as David Miller, stepped into the fray, his black suit tailored with audacious precision. His heart thrummed. The USB drive in his clutch was a ticking bomb. Tonight, Michael would shatter the family's facade. Michael glided through the crowd, "He's so intense tonight," a socialite whispered. "It's the passion for legacy," Michael murmured. He felt the weight of their stares, but they fueled him. Lena Torres caught Michael's eye. Her nod was a silent signal. Madame Dubois held court on a raised dais. She raised a flute. "To the Dubois," she declared, "a legacy of unity and grace." The applause was thunderous, but Michael's pulse quickened. He had hacked the gala's AV system. As Madame Dubois' speech droned on, Michael moved to the control booth. With a discreet signal to Lena, he triggered the video. The screen flickered, Madame Dubois' image replaced by grainy gala footage, a waiter swapping David's cocktail, followed by Julian Thorne's voice, a low hiss ordering, "Make it quick." Gasps ripped through the ballroom. Madame Dubois froze, her champagne spilling. Michael stepped onto the dais. "You called me a risk," he said, his voice clear and unyielding. "A token, a threat to your precious legacy. But I'm your reckoning. This family poisoned my brother to protect your dirty secrets." The crowd was in shock, cameras flashing. Michael's gaze swept the room. "David uncovered your lies," he continued. "Millions were laundered through offshore accounts hidden while you smiled for the cameras. You tried to silence him, but you failed." He gestured to the screen, now frozen on Julian Thorne's guilty face. "The FBI will have questions, Madame Dubois. So will the world." Julian bolted, but security blocked his path. The crowd's murmurs swelled. Madame Dubois' composure shattered, her finger jabbing at Michael. "You're nothing but a fraud in a borrowed suit." The insult hung in the air, but Michael stood unshaken. "I'm the brother you underestimated," he said, "and I'm not alone." The accusation landed. Camille Dubois, who had stood silent at Madame Dubois' side, stepped forward. "You used me," she said, her voice low but fierce, facing her mother. "You made me a pawn to control him, to break him. I'm done." The ballroom held its breath as Camille crossed to Michael, her hand reaching for his. "David deserved better," she said, her voice breaking, "and so did I." The crowd's gasps were a chorus, Madame Dubois' face ashen, her empire crumbling. Michael squeezed Camille's hand. He turned back to the crowd. "This isn't about revenge," he said. "It's about truth, for my brother, for every life your lies have touched." Reporters surged forward. Michael stepped back, knowing the video, now viral under Lena's shared link, would do the rest. Madame Dubois staggered, her authority unraveling. The hospital room was a cocoon of sterile white. David Miller stirred. "You're back," Michael Ellis whispered, his hand clasped in his. David's vision cleared. "You found me," David's voice a fragile thread. Michael's grip tightened. "They're finished, David. You're free." Michael recounted the reckoning. The video, Julian Thorne's orders, Madame Dubois' shattered reign, and Camille's stand. David's tears fell not for pain, but for the brother who'd fought in his stead. Madame Dubois faced fraud charges, her offshore accounts laid bare. Julian was arrested. Twitter erupted with hashtag Justice for Miller. Lena Torres amplified the story. David, still weak, scrolled through the posts on Michael's phone. "They see us now," he murmured. 2 months later, the brothers stood in a sleek Brooklyn office, its walls adorned with photos of resilient men and women. The Miller Initiative, their non-profit, was born from the ashes of the Dubois fortune. It seized assets, funding a mission to empower marginalized communities. David signed the founding charter. Michael reviewed legal briefs. "This is for Dad," David said, his eyes on a framed photo of their father's workshop. Michael nodded. "And for every soul they tried to dim." The initiative's launch was a quiet triumph. Community centers buzzed with workshops. Legal aid flowed. David's charm crafted viral campaigns. Michael's acumen secured grants. Camille, free from her mother's shadow, volunteered her architectural sketches. Her love for David, now untainted, was a quiet anchor. The brothers' final stand came at a TED Talk in San Francisco. David stepped onto the stage. I thought I was a stain on their canvas. He spoke of being tolerated, never equal. They tried to erase me, but my brother, my mirror, refused to let me fade. Michael joined him. We didn't just fight for us, Michael said. We fought for every soul told they don't belong. David took Michael's hand. I'm not their shadow, David declared. I am the light. The audience rose, their applause a thunder. Twitter blazed with clips, #MillerLightTrends. Backstage, the twins embraced their father's memory. We did it, Michael whispered. David nodded, his smile radiant. The Dubois' gilded cage was dust. David and Michael walked forward, their steps a beacon for the silenced. Thank you, incredible listeners, for joining the radiant journey of two brothers who turned pain into power. Their defiance reminds us true light shines from within. What moved you most? Was it their unyielding bond, the fall of a dynasty, or their rise to inspire millions? Share your thoughts below. Where are you listening from, and how did this story spark your heart? Your voices fuel our tales. Hit that subscribe button to catch our next story. Until then, keep shining, keep questioning, and keep believing in your worth. We'll meet again soon under a sky lit by stories.